In the wild lands of the American Southwest, where the desert winds whispered ancient secrets, one era could change a warrior's entire destiny forever. No man had ever caught Arra's arrow until the day a stranger did the impossible. Arra stood tall and proud in the center of the Apache village, the hot desert sun glowing on her bronze skin. She was a fierce Apache warrior, known for her unmatched skill with the bow. Her long black hair was braided with eagle feathers, and her strong body was dressed in soft deer skin and traditional Apache patterns. She had fought many battles, protected her people, and lived by her own rules. Freedom ran through her blood like the desert wind. In her tribe, there was an old and unbreakable custom. Any man who could catch her arrow in mid-air had to marry her, and she would have no choice. For generations, no one had succeeded. Arra used this challenge to show everyone that she belonged to no one but herself. Today, the entire village had gathered. Warriors, women, and children watched in silence as Arra raised her bow. Her dark eyes burned with confidence. She pulled the string back with powerful arms, the arrow gleaming in the desert sun. "No one has ever caught my arrow," she declared in a strong, clear voice, "and no one ever will." With a sharp breath, she released it. The arrow shot forward like a lightning strike, cutting through the dry desert air at incredible speed. Suddenly, a tall stranger stepped out from the crowd. He had sun-tanned skin, messy brown hair, and calm green eyes that showed quiet strength. His name was Kyle. He was a traveler from distant lands who had stopped in the village for rest. Without any fear or pride, he simply reached up and caught the flying arrow with one steady hand, closing his fingers around it gently. The whole village fell into shocked silence. Then loud murmurs and gasps filled the air. Arra's heart stopped for a moment. Her bow lowered slowly as disbelief washed over her face. This could not be happening. Her arrow, her symbol of freedom, had been caught. The village elder walked forward, his wrinkled face serious. "The ancient law is clear. Kyle has caught Arra's arrow. She must marry him. The ceremony will take place at sunset tomorrow." Arra felt a sharp pain in her chest, like a knife twisting inside. She had spent her life fighting for her independence, riding across the desert and protecting her Apache people with courage. Now, one single arrow had stolen her freedom. Tears of anger and helplessness burned in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall in front of everyone. "I will not be forced into marriage," she shouted, her voice shaking with emotion. The elder shook his head sadly. "The law of our ancestors cannot be broken, my child." Kyle stood quietly, still holding the arrow. He looked at Arra with soft, respectful eyes. "I did not catch it to claim you," he said in a calm, deep voice. "I stepped forward because some things are worth standing up for. I will never force you to be my wife." His gentle words surprised her. Most men would have celebrated their victory loudly. Kyle did not. He simply returned the arrow to her with care. That night, according to tradition, they were made to share the same small adobe house on the edge of the village. One warm fire burned in the corner. 2 beds lay on opposite sides of the room. Arra sat on her bed with her arms tightly crossed, her heart heavy with anger and fear. She felt trapped, like a wild horse suddenly put in ropes. Kyle sat quietly on his side. He prepared a simple meal of roasted meat, corn, and desert herbs. He placed a plate nearer without speaking much. "You should eat," he said softly. "I give you my word. I will not touch you or demand anything. Your space is yours." Ara stared at him for a long time. She wanted him to act cruel so she could fight back. His kindness and respect only made her more confused and emotional. That night she lay awake listening to the desert wind outside, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. For the first time in her life, the strong Apache warrior felt truly helpless. Days passed into weeks. They lived under the same roof, but Kyle kept his promise every single day. He never crossed into her space without asking. He helped the village with hunting, repaired broken tools, and even learned some Apache words to speak with the elders. He listened quietly when Iara spoke about her battles and her love for her people. He never tried to control her. Slowly, without realizing it, Iara began to notice the warmth in his green eyes, the gentle way he smiled, and how safe she started feeling when he was near. One quiet evening, as they sat outside watching the stars over the desert, Iara finally asked the question that had been burning in her heart. "Why did you catch my arrow?" she whispered. "You could have let it pass. No one would have known." Kyle looked at the starry sky for a moment, then turned to her. "Because I saw a proud Apache woman standing alone, fighting for her freedom. I didn't want to own you. I just couldn't stand by and watch without doing something." His honest words touched something deep inside her. A warm, unfamiliar feeling spread through her chest. Fear mixed with strange happiness. She turned her face away so he wouldn't see the tears shining in her eyes. Their days together grew softer. They rode horses across the desert, hunted together, and talked for hours under the moonlight. Iara found herself laughing more freely. She caught herself stealing glances at him when he wasn't looking. The anger in her heart slowly melted into care, then into deep admiration, and finally into something she was scared to name, love. But she still held back, afraid that her feelings might not be real. Then one afternoon, while they were deep in the rocky canyons gathering medicinal plants, danger struck without warning. A group of enemy raiders attacked them suddenly, 5 armed men on horseback who had come to steal from the Apache lands. "Stay behind me," Kyle shouted, drawing his knife. Iara pulled her bow and shot 2 arrows with deadly accuracy. 2 raiders fell. Kyle fought bravely, protecting her with everything he had. But in the chaos, one raider swung a heavy club straight at Elira from behind. She did not see the blow coming. Kyle saw it. Without a second thought, he threw himself in front of her. The club struck his shoulder and chest with a sickening sound. He cried out in pain as blood soaked his shirt, but he kept fighting until the last raider fled in fear. Elira dropped her bow and caught Kyle as he collapsed to the ground. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against his deep wounds. Hot tears streamed down her face. "Why?" she sobbed, her voice breaking with raw emotion. "Why did you risk your life for me?" Kyle looked up at her through the pain, his green eyes still soft and full of warmth. "Because you are important to me, Elira," he whispered weakly. "Not because of any arrow or old law, but because you are you." In that painful moment, every wall around Elira's heart shattered completely. She held him close,
feeling his blood on her hands and his heartbeat against her chest. All her life she had fought to be free. Now she realized true freedom was choosing someone who had always chosen her first, without force, without demand. That night, back in their house, Elira sat beside Kyle's bed while the healer treated his wounds. She gently took his hand, her voice full of tears and love. "I was so wrong," she said softly. "I thought this was only a cruel tradition, but you have shown me real honor and care every single day. I don't want to fight anymore. I choose you, Kyle, not because the law says so, but because my heart has already chosen you."
Kyle's eyes filled with happy tears. Despite his pain, he smiled and squeezed her hand. "I would catch that arrow 1,000 times if it brought me to you. I will always choose you, Ara, even if you never chose me back." With trembling lips, Ara leaned down and kissed him. The kiss was full of all the emotion she had held inside, fear turning into trust, anger turning into deep love, and loneliness turning into a beautiful forever. From that day forward, their forced marriage blossomed into a true and passionate love. Ara, the proud Apache warrior, still rode across the desert with her bow, but now Kyle rode beside her. Together, they faced life with courage, laughter, and unbreakable bond. And every time she looked at him, Ara remembered that one arrow had not taken her freedom. It had given her the greatest gift of all, a love that was chosen freely from the heart. Thank you for riding along on this story. Drop your location and time one more time if you like, and if it touched you, send some stars, follow, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you in the next tale.